Hello, my name's Jackie and I work for Swell Libraries, and today I'm going to show you how to make a very easy lined bag. As you can see, it's got a nice long handle which you can adjust. You can make it shorter, longer. If you make it long enough, you can wear it across your body. I'm going to put a little pocket as well on the one that I'm going to make today, just on the front. This one is also going to have a little magnetic clasp, but don't worry if you haven't got any of these, you can leave that out. I've used cotton fabrics. This is a cotton duck fabric, which is slightly thicker to a normal cotton fabric. Just gives it a little bit more body. But you can use cotton fabric, that's not a problem. And inside I've just used an ordinary cotton fabric. But I shall show you what you're going to need. 2 pieces of fabric for the outside of the bag. These are going to be 9 inches across by 12.5 inches long. Again, you can adjust the size of your bag. If you want to make it slightly smaller or bigger, you can do so. It's not a problem. This is the little pocket that I'm going to put on the outside. You need a piece of fabric roughly 6.5 inches wide by 8 inches long. And then what I did, I just folded over the edges twice, ironed it nice and flat, and then I just stitched around the outside. And then all you need to do then is to position it where you want it on the front of your bag, centrally, and then you pin it. And then you need to stitch just down the side, across the bottom and up the top. When you've done that stage, you just right sides together. And again, if you pin, it just makes it that little bit easier. And then you stitch down the side, across the bottom and up the top. This is the lining that I'm going to be using, which is similar size, 9 inches across. It's just a little bit shorter. It's 12 inches long. You need 2 pieces, again, right sides together, pin in place, and then just stitch again, down the side, across the bottom, and up the other side. With the lining, you must remember to leave a gap. Leave a sort of 3-4 inches because you're going to need to turn the bag inside out. So must remember, leave a gap down the side. And that's that. So once I've stitched those, I'll come back to you for the next stage. Okay, I've stitched the main body of the bag and turned it in the right way, and you can see I've attached the little pocket on the front. This is the handle. This is webbing. You can use webbing, or you can make your own fabric handle if you haven't got any webbing. This piece is 48 inches long, but as I said before, you can adjust it to make it shorter or longer. Now, all I've done on your side seam, I've just quickly stitched just to hold it in place downwards. The handle has to be downwards, and you make sure it's flat and it's not twisted, and you do the same to the other side as well. And what you need to do is to open your seam, so ideally iron those seams open. It just makes it a lot easier so it doesn't get quite so bulky when you're stitching. What I've also done with this bag is giving it a small gusset. What this does, it expands the bottom of the bag, giving you some room rather than it just being a dead flat bag. And I'll show you how to do that. This is the lining, which I've stitched down the sides and left a gap down the side. What you need to do to make the gusset, on the bottom you need to pull open the fabric where the corner is, and you pull it to a point like that, so you've got a point. Now again, depending how big you want to expand your bag, I've done about 1 inch. It doesn't need to be that big. And what you're best to do, if you've not done this before, if you measure 1 inch down, and then just draw a line across, this is going to be your stitch line. Like that. So we're just going to stitch that now. Do a back stitch as well, just to make sure it's nice and strong. Just go across. That's that done. And then all you need to do is just to snip the corner off. You don't need this piece, so just snip straight across like that. And you do the same with the other corner as well. Okay, I'm going to show you how to put in the magnetic clasp. You need to measure the centre. This is 9 inches wide, so it's 4.5 inches, and you just put a little mark. And you need to come down about 2 inches. So put a little mark there. This is the magnetic clasp. It comes in 4 parts. I've already put that side on. You could have a little washer on both sides. What you need to do, where your little mark is, if you get one of these fabric rippers, and you just make a little small hole, and you just make a big enough hole just for these little prongs to go through. So a small distance apart. Then from the outside of the bag, put the prongs through, like that. Put your washer over the top, and then push the prongs. I always do it on the outside, push them on the outside, like that. And that's basically, that's your little magnetic clasp. Very easy to do. But as I say, if you haven't got those, don't worry, you can just leave it open. Okay, now we're going to get the outside of the bag, and we need to put it inside the lining. So just feed it in. A little bit fiddly this bit, but it is fairly straightforward what you need to do. You've got to line up the side seams. So your seam lining and your outer lining need to match up, and that's a little bit fiddly because you've obviously got the handle there now, but it's, if you can just do your best to line it up, and you just put a pin to hold it in place. And you do the same with the other side, getting that handle inside. This is why it's easier to stitch the handle in place before we do this, because it just gets too fiddly. So again, line up your seams as best as you can, like that. And then you can continue pinning around the top, because we're going to be stitching this. Pin the other side, so it's all nice and straight. There you go. So that's all pinned. Now we've got to stitch. So if you, with your sewing machine, if you can take the bobbin piece off, you can actually put your whole of your bag in, because that's what you're going to need to do. You've got to stitch all the way around the top. You can use a slightly bigger seam allowance, more like 1/2 inch, and you just stitch all the way around. Okay, when I've done that, I'll come back for the final piece. Okay, I've stitched all the way around the top, so we need to pull the outside of the bag through that gap of the lining. This is why you need to leave a big enough gap to do this. This is called the birthing of the bag. Here we are. Now, firstly, the gap needs to be closed up, which I've lost. Here we are. So you can do it on the machine, because no one's going to see this, but you just fold over the edges and you just seam along there. When that's done, you then push the lining inside the bag, pushing right into the corners. Any bits of cotton you can discard when you're tidying up. Now it's up to you. Sometimes I leave a little bit of the lining showing. I just think it adds a little bit of a contrast. Or you completely hide it, so you sort of tuck completely in like that, and then what you do, you just stitch a top seam, and it just holds everything in place. So you're best to iron this. You're going to have everything inside, you iron it nice and flat so that is completely tucked inside, and then all you would do, again about 1/2 inch, you just stitch all the way around the outside of the bag, and that just holds the lining in place and gives it a nice finish. And this is the finished bag, all done. I've ironed it all nice and flat. I've stitched around the top, and I've left a little bit of the lining showing just as a bit of contrast. The magnetic fastener is working okay, and the little pocket. And that's it. I hope you found this video informative, and I hope you give it a go and try and make a bag for yourself. Keep a lookout. I'm hoping to do some more videos, sewing tutorials, making different things. So hopefully I shall see you soon. You take care, and thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.